Ohio cop kills man entering his own home. Young Turks, I feel like you've left something out of the sentence. We wouldn't be here if Ohio cops killed man entering his own home. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it surely is a black man that was killed by the cops. Otherwise, how could you get your fuck white people narrative off? I mean, it's always good to get a fuck cops in, but when you can double dip, yeah, it's better. And Ohio cop kills man entering his own home. That was the rest of the information. So there's nothing else that we need to know. It was something about him entering his home. Let me just guess. Let's spitball off your stupidity. Did the cops not want him to go home? Is there something about entering your own home that is illegal? Why would the cops kill someone who's just entering his home? A normal person might ask. Well, the answer is, of course there's more to it. They're leaving shit out, and they're leaving it out intentionally. And all the gaps that they're not going to fill in with the pertinent information, you should fill in with the answer of racism. So the answer to why did Ohio cops kill black man, entering his own home is the cops were racist. And let's hope the cop was white. Let's see how long it takes them to racialize this story, which has a headline of Ohio cop kills man. Could be an Asian man, could be a Pakistani. We don't know. Let's find out if it matters.
A sheriff's deputy shot and killed a black man.
Ah, that's how long it took. 3 seconds. Okay. It's a black man. So his blackness is probably something to do with this. White people apparently don't get shot by cops all the time in a variety of circumstances. No, there's something special about this case. Of course, I mean, that's why we're covering it. Why would we cover this? There's tons of murders that happen all the time, but this one rose to the top. It has the magical pixie dust of relevance, which somehow makes this case more important than every other case, and guaranteed that has everything to do with the fact that it was a black man. Hey, blacks, and hey, whites, and hey, hook-nosed Armenians, we're not impressed that you're black. Never have been, never will be. I don't give a fuck.
A sheriff's deputy shot and killed a black man as he was entering his own home in Columbus, Ohio.
And let's just be specific here. This is a 23-year-old man. He does not own this home, so it's not his own home in that sense. He's living with his mama. And his mama doesn't have a papa, as in she's not married. So it's another fatherless black schmuck.
Casey Goodson allegedly looked suspicious to the sheriff's deputy. His name is Jason Mead.
Allegedly looks suspicious. Yeah, there's probably no reason, Anna. I'm fascinated because now I've read up on this story and now I'm circling back to hear their take on it. I wonder if they're going to mention information that is critical to the story. I have zero confidence they will. But you're right, Anna. The man was just a normal citizen, just walking home and entering a home while black. You know, that's a new crime.
So he followed the 23-year-old as he was attempting to open his front door and enter his home. At that point, the sheriff's deputy, Mead, opened fire and shot and killed Casey Goodson.
That's all you need to know, guys. Talking points are in. Black man entering his own home got shot for no reason. Key points to remember, he's black and he entered his home. Also, Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines. If you don't think we're getting to Kyle Rittenhouse cross state lines in this video, so black man in Ohio shot to death for doing nothing, absolutely nothing, just entered his own home. I mean, do you believe that? They think you should believe that. According to the Young Turks, that's what you should know right now. That's what you should believe. If you think it's a stretch to get from that story to Kyle Rittenhouse crossed a state line that was a minute away from his home and wedge those two things together, you haven't been watching the Young Turks.
Now, this case should be fully investigated, but it's unclear whether it will be based on what I'm about to share with you.
Let's investigate it with a credible journalist, because you know what a credible journalist might do? Here's what they might do. They might find out the story from the other side. So right now we're hearing a story which is nonsensical. Man enters home, gets shot. Does anyone think that happened? Does anyone think this is even remotely close to a reflection of what happened that day? No, of course not. But they say that, and there's a gap. And so, wait a minute. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Don't worry about it, Devin. Just look, racism is the answer. So if you have a question like, wait, why would the cops shoot a guy for no reason who's just entering his... It's racism. Oh my God, it solves everything.
Now, more details into the shooting. Mead was working for the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, looking for violent offenders at the...
Yeah, most of them would be black. Just side note, but yeah, in that city, in that neighborhood, you're looking for black offenders. So just a fun fact. And the reason they're looking for them is because they're the ones committing crime.
Time. But Goodson was not the person being sought by the task force, Columbus police said. Goodson had put his keys into the door.
Yeah, I cannot believe they're leaving this shit out. It's unreal.
Before he was shot and fell into the kitchen where his 5-year-old brother and his 72-year-old grandmother saw him laying on the ground with a Subway sandwich.
Okay, so Subway sandwich is now the new Skittles. So the Subway sandwich is going to be important to the story. Just a dude coming back with a Subway, walking to his home. By the way, he has a 5-year-old brother and he's 23. Mom, what's going on? How many different men are impregnating that woman? Just, I don't know, take a guess. So typical Anna, they have left out, I mean, probably the only important thing in this story, the only thing that you couldn't leave out, they left out.
So he was armed at the time.
Oh, he was armed. What? Anna, it wasn't just that he was armed. He had the gun out and was pointing the gun at the cops. In fact, the reason they even knew of this guy was that he was cruising down the street in my 6'4". Okay, he's riding down the block and he's waving his gun around. And I'm sure the cops told him to not do that. I'm sure there was a verbal confrontation. That's what the cops said. That's what every report says. And he had his gun and it was out in a combative way with the cops. So forget your Subway sandwich. Forget that he had the keys going into his own home. Forget that he was black. He had a gun out and was pointing it at cops.
With a concealed weapon that he had a permit for. It was a legal weapon.
Irrelevant. You can have a legal weapon. You try pointing it at cops and refusing to obey police commands, you're getting shot. It's happened thousands of times. So the legality of his gun, totally irrelevant.
There is absolutely no indication that he engaged in any kind of altercation with the sheriff's deputy.
What? There's every indication. Did you not read the... Oh, fucking A. It's incredible. It's seriously incredible. To debunk the Young Turks, you have to do a 3-second Google search. Peter Tobin, U.S. Marshal for the Southern District of Ohio, said a fugitive task force was wrapping up an unrelated investigation when a deputy saw a man with a gun. He was seen driving down the street waving a gun. Tobin told reporters. That's when the deputy, at some point after that, he confronted him. Tobin said that during the confrontation, the man allegedly started to pull a gun and the officer fired. He added that the shooting appeared justified, but would be investigated. So, man waving gun around, has confrontation with cops, points gun, pulls gun. He has gun pointed at cop. You're not even going to say that's what they're saying? You're not going to say that's what they say happened? I mean, basic 101 journalism, you might give both sides, because we do not have body cam footage. There's no footage. So all we have is a person who was there who saw it, the cop, saying this is what happened. And then we have the parents, people who didn't see it, just saying, our son is dead and he's lying there with a Subway sandwich. He probably didn't do nothing. So they didn't see it and they're saying he didn't do anything. Very predictable, very non-believable. And then you have the cops going, this dude was waving a gun around, brandishing a firearm, and pointing it at cops. And more details will come out. But just notice that the Young Turks don't even say that. They don't even tell you that.
But here's what the problem is. There were no other cops on the scene, and the sheriff's deputy who opened fire and killed him wasn't wearing a body camera. And so who are we to believe? The dead person who hasn't said anything, or the cop who says exactly what happened? I know, here's what we should do. Let's disbelieve the cop because fuck cops, and let's say he shot him because he was racist. Sweet. And wait a minute, what if someone refutes that, or what if it comes out that that's not the case? It'll never come out like that because there's no body cam. So we could just say this and our audience will believe it, and it doesn't matter. You know, he wasn't even alleged to be committing a crime at that time.
Yes, he was. You cannot brandish a weapon and point it at a cop. So of course he was. The problem was the man had a gun. There was a confrontation with a cop. What do you think happened? What is he doing carrying a gun around? Seems like a fair question.
When he was shot, nothing.
No, you're fucking wrong, Hooknose. Why do you think they shot? You cannot point a weapon at a cop. Go ask Tamir Rice.
This sheriff's deputy just alleged that, he looked a little suspicious.
No, that's not what he did not say. I saw a guy who looked a little suspicious, so I blasted that motherfucker. Was that the story? God damn it. The integrity, the total lack of integrity is shocking.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why he thought he looked suspicious.
Oh, I know, Jenk. It's because he's a racist. That guy, that cop, he's a racist guy. Yeah, we have proof because Cenk's preconceived notion that whites are racist and cops are racist. And you know how we know that? Because why would our prisons be filled with so many blacks if cops weren't racist? Because they commit more crime. Shut up.
So,
Dude, could you get more orange?
armed protesters showed up in front of the house of the Michigan Secretary of State.
Oh, wait a minute. You're giving me a different situation. This is interesting. Okay, hold on. I think there's a point somewhere down here because it's very weird to just randomly start talking about something else. There was a protest, but people were armed, and hold on, they didn't get shot? Interesting. Are you suggesting that these situations are exactly the same? Are we doing a science experiment where we match up everything the same, but we change one variable and one variable only? And in so doing, we figure out if that variable is noteworthy, if it actually changes the outcome of a situation. So are you telling me that at that protest, the protesters were pointing their guns at cops when the cops were saying, don't do that? Cenk is trying to make the goofy ass point that there were white people in Michigan and they didn't get shot, and then this black guy got shot. Racism. And then you point out, what about the times white guys with guns do get shot? And what about the times when black people with guns don't get shot? And he goes, just don't mention it. Just don't mention that, and out of sight, out of mind. Like literally out of mind. My dopey ass audience is not going to realize that those things exist, therefore completely nullifying this stupid point I'm on.
They also showed, she's a Democrat, and they also showed up in front of the house of the Speaker of the House in Pennsylvania. He's a Republican.
I like how Republicans get brought into it. I mean, they're so demented with their political tribalism. Like, we have no idea about the politics of this black guy or this cop, or politics has nothing to do with this. And he works in a fuck Republicans.
But they came armed. Now, I presume some of them are licensed to carry that. I hope so. None of them got shot by the cops.
Yeah, because they didn't point guns at cops and they didn't refuse police commands. So that's a likely difference, Cenk, and that's the reason.
Cops saw that and they're like, oh, you're here to threaten public officials with your weapons. Totally fine. You got your Second Amendment rights. Go ahead and try to bully them, intimidate them. Their kids are in the house. Have at it, Hoss.
No, owning weapons is not a threat to public officials. It's called the Second Amendment. People are allowed to have guns. So there's a big difference between having a gun and brandishing it and pointing it at a cop when he's telling you not to. Huge difference, Cenk. I mean, you must know that. Remember the right-wing guy, the white guy, the cowboy up in wherever, Oregon, where was that? Those dudes that squatted on that empty government building. And then one of them was like, I'm not going down. I'm not going to do what the cops tell me to do. He's out driving. He gets out of his car. They're like, put the gun down. Don't reach for the gun. Don't reach for the gun. He reaches for his gun. He gets blasted. So he was a white guy who legally owned a gun, who disobeyed police commands, pulled for the gun, got shot. Cenk covered that story. You know what he said? He said that's an example of white privilege, because that white guy who got shot and killed by cops thought he wasn't gonna be, which is total bullshit. I mean, he knew that was a suicide mission. He knew he was going out in a blaze of non-glory. But it's amazing. No matter what happens, it's a fuck whites when it comes to Cenk, that fat, bug-eyed, sweaty, disgusting, gullet-necked shitfag. Shitfag? That was a weird thing I just did there.
Right? No problem at all. You got your Second Amendment rights. Oh, black guy with a Subway sandwich. Shoot him.
Hold on. Just for the sake of honesty, should we not say black guy with a gun? I mean, black guy with a Subway sandwich. How is that relevant? I told you, though, when they brought up Subway sandwich, that's the Skittles. Tamir Rice, or sorry, who was it? Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin got killed because of Skittles, because of Hoodie. So these random artifacts just enter the story. And did you notice that we were just talking about the guy had a legal gun, ignoring the fact that he was pointing it at a cop, and now that is removed. Now it's just black man with Subway sandwich. He's like, that's a better story.
Oh, black guy with a Subway sandwich. Shoot him. He's going into his own house. He put a key in the door, thereby indicating he owns the house.
He doesn't own the house. Wait a minute. Having a key to a house means you own the house? Nice logic.
Shoot him and kill him. Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is what happened. I mean, how minuscule of a brain must you have to think that a guy was doing nothing wrong, just entering his home with a Subway sandwich, and he got shot? How dumb would you have to be? And similarly, how dumb would you have to be to present that, hoping that it will be digested as the truth?
Well, what happened to his Second Amendment rights? Oh, no, he's black. No, he's got a Second Amendment right to die.
No, I think that's the 8th Amendment or the 9th. I forget which one. It's my favorite one, though. The amendment that a black has the right to die. Are we talking about voluntary suicide? Because I do believe in that, even for the blacks. And often they do that, suicide by cop. But that's not what we're talking about here. Cenk is making a moronic, just seriously, monstrously stupid point that blacks don't get to carry guns. They carry them all the time. Isn't there footage of black dudes in like heavily armed with assault rifles marching down the streets of America? Cenk, none of them got shot. I wonder how we'll work this into your narrative.
No, it is pretty incredible because I mean, if a 17-year-old crosses state lines.
I told you, a 17-year-old white man. I mean, you got to mention it. No, it's coded. The audience already knows the point. It's like they're playing all the old hits. You don't have to mention that Rittenhouse didn't die because he's white. I mean, I know cops shoot twice as many white people every year, but they didn't shoot Rittenhouse, so it's racist.
A 17-year-old crosses state lines with an illegal weapon and then proceeds to shoot and kill 2 protesters. Well, then he's an American hero and the cops will let him go home that night.
Hold on. So stupid on so many levels. Totally different situations. He was defending his life against people who were attacking him, and the cops didn't let him go home. They didn't know he was the shooter. It was a hectic scene, you could say. It was a riot. The cops were not staring at a viral video over and over again. They were somewhere else. They were literally looking at 100 things. And totally irrelevant that he didn't get arrested that night. He turned himself in. By the way, how many black shooters in Chicago that get away with murder, how many of them turn themselves in the next day? None. The answer is none. So trying to juxtapose Kyle Rittenhouse to this guy is such a phenomenally obtuse observation. Sound and hook-nosed fury amounting to nothing.
And then turn himself in later. And I'm specifically talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, who opened fire on protesters, killing 2 and injuring 1 other.
Anna, you left the part out where he was attacked and his life was in danger. You left that part out. But that's okay. You leave stuff out all the time. This is par for the course.
In Kenosha, Wisconsin. But when it comes to a black individual who's not committing a crime.
He literally was committing a crime when he was shot. That's why he got shot.
Who has an absolutely squeaky clean record, who has a license to carry a concealed weapon.
The weapon wasn't concealed. It was out, which is kind of the whole point. And what do you mean squeaky clean record? I thought bringing up criminal records was not good. You make that point all the time. Because 9 times out of 10, the black dude in question has a record riddled with criminal offenses. Like Jacob Blake, like George Floyd, like any of those dudes. So wait, because he has a clean record, so what? I thought records didn't matter. So records don't matter when it's a bad record, but when it's a squeaky clean record, oh, it does matter? You know who else had a squeaky clean criminal history? Kyle Rittenhouse. You didn't mention that. So the comparison is 1-to-1. Kyle Rittenhouse had a squeaky clean record, and so did this guy. So where's the racism? I mean, we are on a treasure hunt for racism, and X marks the spot. They don't need a hunt. It's in the air. It's everywhere. You just have to say fucking whites, right? I mean, the audience is clapping like a seal at the beginning of the video. There's no convincing necessary.
No, but he looks suspicious, so let me open fire as he's putting the keys in his door to open the front door to his own home.
Mention the Subway sandwich. I mean, let's forget the fact that the cop and the investigation will show you that the guy had a weapon out. The weapon was out. He had drawn the gun on the cop.
By the way, when the authorities showed up, the keys were still in the door.
Keys were in the door, therefore he didn't do anything else. Yeah, once you get that key in the door, it absolves you of everything else you didn't do. I mean, Anna, what if the cop said put the gun down and he didn't put it down? Just what if? Do you think that might be a situation that could lead to a shooting?
Yeah.
Anna's upset. There go those neck veins. There goes the aging. Fuck you, Anna. Stress out. Another dead black. Can you believe it? Hooray for those cops, though. God, I love the cops. Blue lives matter, don't you think? I do. I really, really do.
If you're a detective, that's a pretty good clue that you shouldn't shoot the guy because it's his place.
Yeah, Cenk, no one thinks he was trying to rob a house. Doesn't matter. And it wasn't his place. He doesn't own it. It's his mommy's.
So look, Anna, great point on Rittenhouse.
No, retarded point and comically stupid point, like Cal State Northridge type of a point.
I hadn't thought of it quite that way. In his case, he wasn't even doing it the legal way. And then he murdered people with it.
The legality of the possession of the gun is completely irrelevant. I mean, I don't know how else I can hammer that point home. They will find out later if the gun was legal or not. It doesn't matter. It has no bearing on how someone is dealing with the person with a gun. It's not like a guy pulls a gun on you and you're like, hold on, do you have a legal permit to own that gun before I react to this?
And they let him go. They finally arrest him because, golly gee, I guess we got to go arrest this guy.
No, they didn't go arrest him. It was during a riot where there were a million things happening. They didn't let him go. They didn't know he was the shooter. They didn't know people had been shot. They had heard gunshots. They had no idea what was happening. And they didn't go get him, and they didn't begrudgingly go get him. He turned himself in, and he was processed and charged like anyone else. So there's no two-tier justice system. Rittenhouse is in jail and awaiting trial. He posted bail, just like blacks post bail, and he will go to trial just like everyone else.
They'd given him water before the shootings.
A different set of cops, gave him water. They gave a lot of people water, so what?
They were very friendly with him. They're like, oh, right-wing militia come here with illegal weapons. Great, we love you guys, right?
No, they didn't say right-wing militia. They were not that. They were just citizens protecting businesses during a riot where there was Antifa and BLM and other such scum destroying shit. So yeah, you're going to be respectful and polite to people. Damn those cops. Damn it, cops. Just, you should be angry, mean. Isn't that good policing, Cenk? Isn't that what you're looking for? You fat fucking loser.
And we showed you that video before. But MAGA raised $2 million to get Rittenhouse out on bail.
Good for them. And BLM raises money to get Antifa people out and BLMers out. So touche? I mean, what kind of a point is that? And also, $2 million was not the bail. It was a fraction of that.
Now, if you're an NRA member or you're a gun rights advocate, shouldn't you be on this guy's side? He was a legal gun owner, mowed down by the tyrannical government.
What do you mean? The details haven't come out. The investigation hasn't even begun. And this is where Cenk says, oh, you're not sticking up for this random thing that just happened 10 minutes ago because you're a racist. And it's just so fanciful. He'll just pick a dude, a theoretical right-winger, and say, you support Kyle Rittenhouse, but you didn't support this guy, and that's because you're a racist. I mean, it's make-believe.
Jackbooted thugs of the government killed this legal gun owner. Yet I don't hear anything from them.
Yeah, Cenk, you got your ear to the ground listening for people to talk about this. He's just making it up. You know that, right? This is a total non-point, absolute garbage logic.
But you don't have to try to guess as to whether the NRA and right-wingers will help these legal gun owners who were brutally murdered for no reason. We had Philando Castile. It already happened.
This is beautiful. Watch and learn.
He was a legal gun owner. He told the police, I have a license.
He did not say I have a license. He said, I have a gun. And he just used that gun to do an armed robbery.
Let me show you. And he listened to all of the cops' instructions. They always say, gotta listen to the cops. Philando Castile did listen to the cops.
No, there was one key instruction he didn't listen to, which was, don't reach for your gun. And the cop said it twice. Don't reach for it. Don't reach for it. And guess what Philando Castile did? That dumb pothead. He reached for his gun and he got shot to death. And if you want to try that at home, go tell a cop you have a gun and then reach for it when he tells you not to. Let's see what happens to you.
He did everything they asked him to do. They killed him anyway.
Aside from reaching for his gun when he was told specifically not to reach for his gun. Isn't it a shame that there's audio in that video? It kind of ruins this whole little story you got, but I mean, I guess most of your audience don't remember that, or they trust you for some weird reason.
And did they do a big fundraising drive for Philando Castile? No. Gee, I wonder why, huh?
Fundraising for what? To get him out of the morgue? Can you get bail from the morgue? Oh, I guess it's racism, Cenk. Hey, Cenk, did you start a fund to help Philando Castile? You didn't. So, hold on. Gee, I wonder why. But you do have funds to help yourself. You have like 4 different PACs, and you're selling coffee, and you have membership drives, and you're constantly begging for money for yourself, but nothing for Philando Castile. A black man. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it has nothing to do with their race. I'm sure you guys are really into the Second Amendment and into the Constitution, which, by the way, some of you now want to suspend and declare martial law so that Trump could be dictator.
Fuck Trump. We went from Rittenhouse to fuck MAGA to fuck Trump. Like I say, all the hits, yes.
But you pretended to be in favor of that, but when it affects black people, nowhere to be found.
Cenk isn't racist. You're racist, mythical white man. You're racist because you didn't start a GoFundMe drive for Philando Castile, just like Cenk didn't, but this doesn't apply to him because of reasons.
Well, I think it's also worth talking about
That he crossed state lines?
what is happening with an investigation into this, or the lack of investigation.
There is an investigation into this, Anna. That was another dumb point. You're doing dumb shit again, Anna.
So the Columbus police notified the public, and I want to be clear,
You want to be Clef? Why Clef Jean? What are you saying?
the Columbus police are not behind this shooting. This was a sheriff's deputy who opened fire with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office.
Thanks for making that distinction, Anna. No one gives a single rat's dick about that.
However, the Columbus police, which was not involved in the shooting, announced
You just said that. You just said that a second ago.
Monday that the investigation had been turned over to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation at the request of Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan. Now, here's the problem. The Ohio Bureau of Investigation has actually rejected the case because the case wasn't brought to them until 3 days after the shooting took place. They said, quote, "We received a referral to take a 3-day-old officer-involved shooting case, not knowing all the reasons as to why so much time has passed before the case was referred to BCI. We cannot accept this case."
This is not what I heard. I heard that there is a federal investigation going on about this case.
Now, when I read that first part of the statement, I was pretty enraged. I'm not going to lie. Like, why can't you take the case?
We love your rage, Anna. Your rage fuels me. It actually gives me motivation to go out and do things.
They should have brought it to you immediately. But even so, 3 days later, why wouldn't you want to investigate this?
Seems like quite a normal story. I mean, you cannot pass over an investigation after the fact to a totally different set of people and say, can you guys figure out what happened here? It's like, it's too late. Whoever had jurisdiction at the time needed to handle the case. This is the protocol. God damn, we're so deep in the weeds. Who cares?
They claim BCI has an existing memorandum of understanding with the Columbus Police Department. As they know, the BCI is their first call when an incident occurs. BCI is the first call because we cannot be the subject matter experts unless we're on the scene from the beginning to document the evidence of what happened from the start. 3 days later, after the crime scene has been dismantled and the witnesses have all dispersed, does not work.
And
so think about it. The cop wasn't wearing a body camera. The Columbus Police Department didn't refer this case to the Ohio Bureau of Investigation. So any evidence that was on the scene was probably either dismantled or doesn't exist anymore.
It was documented. There has been an investigation. It is ongoing.
So I think they have a legitimate concern, but it still needs to be investigated. What, we're just gonna leave it alone?
Oh, look at Anna raging. Oh, the little Armenian from West LA. Go, Anna, go. Aren't you late for a spin class or something? Go tease out your hair some more, you fucking whore.
Yeah. Let me just say, I don't believe a word of it.
Oh, the brown fatter Alex Jones doesn't believe the government? Oh, Jang. Yeah, we'll believe you, Jang. You have zero knowledge of any of this, but I'm sure I'll trust you. You've proven yourself to be credible over the years.
So, hey, look at that. A cop caught a lucky break. Golly gee, we just can't investigate him. When Trump files lawsuits 30 days too late, or in Pennsylvania, a year too late, they're like, oh yeah, I mean, what's the big deal
Immediate pivot to a fuck Trump? Do they not get whiplash from this?
about the time and stuff? Oh, cop shot and killed someone? Oh, you missed it by 13 seconds. And the other police departments did refer to the other investigative division in time. What a coincidence. And yet another lucky break for cops.
Isn't it a little bit weird that he's trying to point out a hypocrisy, but it's between two different people? So it's like, hey, guy over here, guy A, you did something over here once, and then guy B did something else in a different situation. Can you believe the hypocrisy of these two people if we joined them together? Oh, Jang, just please refrain.
Let me ask you guys this, and it doesn't matter if you're right wing. Everybody knows the answer.
Everybody knows this. Everybody knows. Doesn't he sound like Trump? Everybody knows rigged election. The world is watching. Sleepy Joe. I mean, what does everybody know, Jang? People are saying. What did the people say?
Do you think if it was a cop who was shot, they'd be like, no, sorry, you're past the deadline, past the 3-day deadline. We just can't investigate. You're free to go, everybody. No way.
once again, there is an investigation into this case. And point two, yes, the cops have a different standard when it comes to cops. That's not even a double standard. That's a proud single standard for cops, because being a cop, being part of that brotherhood, being part of that profession gives you a different standard by which we're going to look at you. Yes. And why would you be surprised if the cops look out for their own? I mean, are you going to sit here and wait around and yell at the sky because the cops treat cops differently than other people? They're supposed to.
No way, no way. Now, it'd be a different process, but
yeah, so it's completely different, so there is no point.
they'd be like, no, a cop was shot. That's his life mattered. No,
But a black man, his life doesn't matter, right, Jake? But you think it does because you're the best non-racist ever.
we're going to put every resource in the state to figure out who shot him, as they should.
Oh, they should. So there's no problem with that. Okay. But there's a problem here because why? Because a certain agency is not investigating? Yeah, well, a different one is. So it is being investigated. So I guess we'll wait for the correction video that will never come.
Oh, a black guy was shot for apparently no reason while entering his own home.
Aside from waving a gun and brandishing it and pointing it at cops and refusing to obey police commands. Aside from that, it was something to do with a Subway sandwich, I think.
Ah, you missed the deadline. Oh, I mean, it was by a cop. Oh, you definitely missed the deadline. Golly gee, nothing we could do.
Thanks for watching the Young
Well, you guys did it. You saved the man. You resuscitated his life, and you proved to the world that you're the greatest people of all time. I mean, this had everything in a typical Young Turks video. They hit all their points. But, I mean, look, I'll follow up on this and find out if they ever do complete an investigation, and we're going to find out the truth of what happened, and they're not going to talk about it. If it's ugly, I mean, if it turns out the cop did something wrong, which probably didn't, then they'll cover it 100 times over. But first, we got to make sure the cop was white, and also there's no video for this one, so it's not as sensational, so we can't grift hard off of it. But still nice to belt out the oldies but goodies. Fuck the Young Turks. 2021, my goal is, I've already announced it, is to bring down the Young Turks as an organization. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I got to do that video about the next Young Turks shooter. They got a new fan who's planning on killing cops and is like bragging about it. So that's probably going to happen. And when it does, I'm going to have a field day. So long live the cops. Fuck this brown toad. Fuck that hook-nosed bitch. And I hope you guys have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.